It is by the skin of my teeth. I was eating dinner. It's Friday the 11th. It's episode 175. It's Chocy Chat. Everybody know what flag that is? Hello, Chocy Chat crew. How are you? Happy Friday. Happy Chocy Chat. We've got some cool things to show you tonight. Some very, very interesting things. How's everybody doing? Been a busy week. Been a really, really busy week. The sun's been out. It's been quite chilly. Perfect chocolate making weather this week. Absolutely, really dry, low humidity, bright and sunny. Brilliant for airbrushing, and it was just cold enough to make everything retract or shrink, as we say in Chocy Chat. So it's all good. How is everybody doing? Let me say some hellos. I've got some stuff to show you tonight. So Billy there, how you doing, Billy? Mo the baker's there. Who else have we got? Purely complimentary. Hello, hello. What did I have? It's a flag from. Who knows what flag that one is? Answers on a postcard. Lonely Larson, I can see you. Hello, hello, Karen. I'm good. I'm Maria. Isle Bakes, just over the water there. So strawberry red. Hello, hello. Gina there down New Zealand, Mariva down in New Zealand, we've got Ruth is there in the US, Temper. It's Kathy. How are you doing? Good morning, good evening, Chocy Chat crew. I am really good. Tiring week, lots of classes this week, hands-on classes this week and lessons as well, so it's all good though, it's all good. I love doing the hands-on classes. We get to make some very cool things. We did filled eggs, which the girls are going to break open. The student was going to take those and said, no, let the girls eat them, of which they didn't object, right? So, yeah, happy days. Philip there in Austria, I think. Linda in Jordan. We've got people all over. So, Emily Rose is there. I'm going to talk to you. We've been sent some amazing things here by Emily and Ariana. They're sisters in Puerto Rico. That's where the flag's from. They sent me some of their chocolate, so I'm going to show you. We have got So Sassy crew has got a chocolate tasting assignment, so we're quite looking forward to that because we love doing that kind of stuff. So, hello from Michigan, USA. Hello, hello. Emily said, "My mum's here." Let me show you what's going on. So, Emily Rose and Ariana, they're in Puerto Rico. They've got a small plot of land, and their dream is to create their own kind of chocolate, their own chocolate brand. And they sent us some incredible gifts. We are always humbled when we get sent things, and we just open this box up and we've got all these different chocolates to try, which I think it would be fair to see. So we have what we call single origin, and that's normally an area because cocoa that comes from the area comes into a central point and then it's purchased, so we know that it comes from that region, so it's called. And then there is the next level, which is single estate, and that's kind of one plantation, one area in all the chocolates. So they sent us some different ones which are packaged under different brands for us to try, but it's as real as chocolate gets, and these are their own 82% chocolate, 82% chocolate. We've got a 62 there. We've got some, and then there's some really, really special ones here as well. So these are the cocoa nib and coffee bean, which are ground together on their own. They've sent me a whole load of notes. We've got tasting packs to do. They've sent little bits and pieces for the girls because there's stickers and just so many lovely things, and I kind of need to create a space on the wall for all the bits and pieces that we get sent. We are truly blessed. We're very, very humbled. We never expect people to spend their hard-earned money on sending us things, so we are really, really looking forward to this. I think we'll do more of a post. I think what we will do is arrange to have a chat with Ariana and her sister on Chocy Chat. And maybe we can just get a little bit of an insight into what it is that they're doing, because they've got dreams to, as I said, produce their own chocolate from their own estate, from their own, and kind of develop it from there. What I would say when I say it's dreams to do it if your dream should scare you. Your dream should be so good, so big that they scare you, because that's what should trigger you to do everything you need to do to make those things happen, right? If you kind of feel like, oh, I'd like to do this, it kind of becomes whimsical. And I think that, you know, if you've got a dream to do something, I think you have a responsibility to yourself to make that happen, right? And it comes from surrounding yourself with the right people, linking up with the right people. Chocy Chat, we would, you know, all the students that have been here this week, all talk about Chocy Chat. I was chatting to Louis, I met her earlier, and he's like, I've had all these students come for classes, and all of them are like, Chocy Chat, James, join Chocy Chat. And I think, you know, as I said to Mrs. Sosassi earlier, that it's, we just built this huge community of everybody that's helping each other, and it's so valuable, right? It's such a valuable thing. Because there isn't much of that going on in the world, is there? So thank you, everybody in Chocy Chat. Thank you for gifts that people send us, and for the inspiring comments, and when people tag us in things. And I think I said last week, I'm still very, very humbled when I see all the posts, and it's like they're using our colours and they're winning awards and all the rest of it. And it's just, I just put some colours together and people bought them, right? But always still humbled by that. Really, really humbled by that. So let me scroll back. There was a couple of questions. I think we will enjoy the chocolates. I think we're gonna sit down, and because these are all the tasting notes and all the flavour profiles of everything that's in there. So we're going to go through that with a microscope and taste all those things. And I think Emily and her sister are homeschooled as well, and we homeschool our girls, and we're always looking for those opportunities to really refine some learning points, not just like, well, this is chocolate and this is where it grows and this is where it comes from, but dialing down in those details, because schools can't do that, right? And that's where I think great learning is. So Gina's saying, I'd love to hear about that cocoa estate, fascinated by the bean to bar and growing process of cocoa. I will have a chat with Emily Rose and her sister, and we will try. They're in Puerto Rico. I don't know what the signal's like, but I'll have a chat with them offline, and maybe their mum, and then we can arrange to do something. Ronia did say, and I did say to the sisters on a couple of messages back, that, you know, I think there's a part of the world that I'd love to go and visit and truly see single estate chocolate and how it's done, because there are so many, you know, single origin is one thing, but they're still blended. Single estate is such a refined product, right, with acidities and the quality of fermentation and all those little bits and pieces. When we scale back that massive production and do smaller amounts, you can really refine what it is that you're doing. And I've enjoyed some incredible chocolate over the years. So it's always kind of really, really exciting for me to try something new. And she sent me some other ones that are, kind of from the region. So yeah, we're going to give those a try. We'll give them some feedback and we'll tell them what we think. And I think for the girls to taste some real single origin, do not makes it more exciting for me. I know, and I can speak to the person that made it, and I love that. I'm not a huge fan of the big conglomerate thing where it's anonymous. I think, you know, many of you, I think the success of the colours has been partly down to people can talk to the person that made them. And that's a scarce thing as well, right, in this world. Hi, Cuisine saying, how can I take an online class with you? Head to the website, look at class, go to the shop, look at classes. They're all listed, all the different ones that you can do there. Some are online, some are in person, hands-on classes. Some are video recorded, like the airbrushing class. So they're all there. Have a look on the website. It's quite easy to navigate, I think, the website. Certainly the feedback is, they're good too. They're easy to navigate. So I'm very excited to check out the online classes. You can actually love chocolate and teaching. I love teaching. I love sharing information. I think, you know, I've sat at this time on Friday night for the last 3 years. I like sharing information. I like seeing people grow. Conversation that I had yesterday with Lorraine that was here, and it is that some incredible people have helped me. I'm really good friends with huge names in industry, and if I have questions, I can kind of go to them, and they don't mind sharing either. And I think that there's a real joy in sharing. I love seeing people go off and achieve their goals, and if I can just be a tiny, tiny little spark that's within that, whether we are teaching them, helping them be creative, or inspiring them, it's going to be one of those three. People helped me, I will help other people when we pay that on, right? And then the world should be quite a good place, I think. Madame Sukra saying, this is like a weekly class for me, gather so much valuable information from this group every week. There's some amazing stuff being shared. You'll see. Did everybody see the like the Avatar AI doll that it's Jo May is in Switzerland, who's done a class with me as well, and she just kind of posted that today in the Chocy Chat page, and that's gone round. And then when I saw the little baby Thermapen on it, I showed that to Thermapen, and they've reposted it, and they're like, how cool is that? So that's that picture of me is kind of going round at the minute, and everybody's like, that really looks like. Somebody messaged, Rani said to me I look like Eugene Levy from what's the movie, Rania? What's the movie with Bandcamp? What's it called? Yeah, apparently I look like Eugene Levy in that, and it's like, really, I don't know, I don't see that. It's the eyebrows, isn't it? No, not American Pie. So you know the dad from American Pie. Somebody said, "Oh, you look like Eugene Levy." Louis said, "Man, you look really old. You've not aged well." I was like, "Yeah, cheers, thanks, mate." Temptop, will you be making gold luster dust? The glitter is good, but I'd love to use dust like copper, which is amazing. We can. I think your best option would be to use the white gold. When we take that gold luster down a few microns, because it's at 80 micron that now, so if we took that down to a 30 or 40 micron, it gets really clumpy for some reason. So we left it at 80 so that you can get really nice gold reflection. When we took it a little bit lower, it just kind of came a little bit too clumpy, and I just could not get it to work. So the trials on it, I've no plans to. I think if you use the white gold, you would get that, or maybe a combination of both, right? Admittedly, the copper, and they are very, very small microns, but they don't clump together quite like the gold does. And I don't know if I can go too in depth in why that happens, but I think the testing was, it doesn't, like, if it doesn't work for me, it's not going to work for you. And if I can make it work, you guys can make it work. And that's been the same process with all the colours. Like I make them for me, and if they work for me, they will work for you. And that's kind of been the backbone of what it is that we're creating. I don't just want to throw something together. Like everything we've made, all the lusters, or even the cocoa pearls, everything we've made was with absolute pure intention. Like, is this going to be a solution for people? Because if it's not a solution for me, why would I sell it? Why would I? It's not. The focus is not making money. The focus is on making an absolute incredible product, so that people can go off and run their businesses and do amazing things, right, and fulfill their goals, ambitions, dreams, whatever you want. So, yeah, watch this space. Maybe I'll revisit it again. Maybe there's some options for it. So, when you make fruit caramels, can you use frozen fruit, or if you can get fresh, would the water content be too high? No. Do you know what the interesting thing with fruit caramels is? Any water that's in that fruit. The nice thing about caramels is when we leaning on something sharp there. When we drove back from the shops earlier, and we were eating all the flatbreads, and they're a little bit crispy, and I looked up and it's like I'm absolutely covered in shards of Arabic bread, and that's my excuse. Back to the caramels. We would do the dry caramel, and you're going to need to put some fat in the form of cream into that puree. When we then deglaze it and you get that really violent bubble, all that steam that's coming off is the water. So, and with caramels, we'll cook them back to a minimum of 104. So any water that was in there is probably going to burn out. So it doesn't matter how watery that puree is. So and we use that word purees or juice interchangeable, right? Because, you know, if you did you call it passion fruit juice, but it's a puree generally is got some fibre in it and water content. So, you know, mango, strawberry, raspberry, they have fibre in them, but it's still the juice from the fruit, right? And it's still got water content in it. So even if you're doing a passion fruit caramel, you're going to cook it all the way back to 104, and at 104 you'd have got rid of most of the water, you know, you'd have got rid of kind of 98% of the water anyway. So it doesn't really matter, fresh, frozen, make an amazing puree. The only thing I'd say with, and I was chatting to Deborah this morning, what I'd say with, because we're nearly in that season of fruits, right, like pickable fruits, I think, take the fruits, put them in a pan, put a close fitting lid or cling film on it, just gentle heat, let all the waters come out of it, don't add sugar to it, don't add water to it, see if you can just puree it in its absolute natural form. And if you are going to put sugar into it, you need to measure it and weigh it and put that on the label so that you can track back afterwards, so you've got all the same like ingredient volumes all the way through. What I would say with purees, like, you know, if I was doing raspberry or strawberry, I just puree the main fruit and sieve it and store it like that, so it's raw format, nothing added, not even any acids or anything, just and then make your process from there. And at least the water that's in there is natural water, and go down it. So whether it's frozen, whether it's ambient, whether it is your own, doesn't really matter. All that water's going to come out when you make caramels. It's the absolute opposite when you make ganache, because the water that's in there will need to be considered, because that's what's going to be needed to be bound up with other sugars and other fats, which is why ganache is such a difficult one. You could do a raspberry and white chocolate ganache, but you'd need to know what water was in the, you'd need to know what the water content of that puree was, which is why buying the frozen ones, there's normally the label on the outside, it will tell you the bricks, so how the viscosity of it, so it'll have a bricks number, and then it'll have a fructose or sugar content on there, and then it'll tell you how much water is on there. Whereas when you do your own fruit purees and you want to use those for ganache, you just need to be really careful, because it could be really high in water, it could be really low, and you don't necessarily know whether you've bound everything up right. And that's the challenge with ganache, is the variable that you don't know is what's the water content of that puree, right, or juice. Cheltenham chocolates, how are you? I'm really good, thank you. Vicky saying here, hi everybody, first time joining Chocy Chat. Really enjoyed the class yesterday and so excited to see the chocolates we made on your reels. Happy, definitely. There's some, most of them have been eaten. There's one left, the girls left me one. We did like her. It's very interesting. I do love doing the classes. You know what I really love is, there's a couple of things that I really love. You know, when you turn out the moulds at the end, and it's just that speechless, because they're shiny, and I don't always know what people are expecting, because I think if you came here for a class and you turned out chocolate and they weren't like glass, I'll be questioning myself, right? I know what I'm doing, I know what I'm teaching. I think I did a post earlier today saying, what I never wanted to do is say, right, well, here's my 4 favourite designs and my 4 favourite flavours, and we're just going to copy my 4 favourite designs and you'll turn them out. What I've always wanted to do is, like, if I show you all the different techniques of airbrush and the majority of the techniques of design, then if you just change the colour, it's infinite in terms of what you can design, right? So you know, shelling is shelling, capping is capping, it's just little techniques and temperatures. So what we do is we got different molds, and we just do just hugely different things, right? Every class is different. Everybody wants to do some want to really focus on airbrush, some don't. Some want to do fillings and shelling and capping, some not so much, and then some want to do a little bit of all and kind of go away inspired with lots of chocolates to nibble on. So I love those days. I absolutely love those days. And I was chatting to Louis about this earlier, because he's like, we have these classes at home and his wife cooks, as does Rania, and we end up sitting around till 10 at night. And, you know, the class finishes at 6 and we're sat around at 10, 11 o'clock at night, you know, and when the weather's nice, we're all sat outside. So it just turns into a great day of hospitality as well as teaching, right? So I certainly think that we create a day that people will never forget. And I think that's pure teaching, right? Art and chocolate. This is Linda saying hello. Crazy Easter egg making. You haven't got many days left. I think I think it's the 20th, isn't it, Easter? So not this Sunday, the following Sunday. Yeah, perfect weather here though for chocolate making at the moment. Like the sun was out, it's nice and dry, it's nice and cool. There's no humidity. Perfect weather for spraying at the minute. We've kind of had 40% humidity all week, and it's been, whilst the sun's been out, it's been a nice chilly wind, so it's kind of been 15-16 degrees, and it couldn't be better conditions, right? Ari's saying, I'm very excited to be part of Chocy Chat. You are part of Chocy Chat. Everybody here is part of Chocy Chat. Linda's madly making eggs. Linda posts some lovely stuff. So, hi James. I've made for Chocy Chat after a 6.5 hour journey. Love her. That's a long way. 6.5 hour journey. Where were you driving? Where? Temper Dot saying, check out my post with copper luster. It looks fantastic. I'll go and have a look, Kathy. I will. There's lots of people buy the luster dusts, the cake make. I'm seeing more and more cake makers. I'm seeing more and more cake makers buy the luster dusts and some of the colours for airbrushing. We are working on some water soluble colours that are for airbrushing for cake art. I've got a few more trials to do, and then want to have a look at what percentage would they spray at, on what size needle, so we get all that information together. I don't know how far away it is because I would like to match these colours but in a water soluble format, because I think the cake makers need some love too, right? So maybe it would be Cake Chat Crew, right? Who knows? I don't know. We're certainly seeing more, and they're liking the luster dust because they brush on so easily, really easily. So, quick question: would chocolate covered popping candy go well with caramel ganache? Yes, it will. Don't put popping candy near normal ganache. Caramel ganache, yeah, it'll be okay. It becomes inert after quite a long period of time, so you'd be looking for. With that caramel ganache, I'd do extra chocolate so it's quite thick, so that rather than it being a soft caramel, it's quite a firm fudge-like caramel. Yeah, be absolutely. The coated popping candy is quite stable. It doesn't become inert very quickly. So, whereas if you just got the raw popping candy, which is like the crystals of sugar, those can literally go inert. They can just become, when I say inert, what I mean, it's like the gas escapes from them, and they just become shards of caramel with no pop to them. So, yes, it would, but I certainly wouldn't, I wouldn't claim you're not going to get more than kind of 10 days, 2 weeks from them, I would have thought. And I think it depends on how old is the popping candy. I've had some delivered where the lid was clearly not airtight and the whole lot was just completely inert. Like every single bit was, they're barely crackled, right? And then you get stuff from the shop and you put it on your tongue and it's like exploding everywhere, right? So there's different qualities for sure. Made chocolates are there. Mate, Joe, can I just say thank you for posting that thing today. That was absolutely fabulous. I've reposted that. I reposted onto my page. There's so many people commented on that today, positively and negatively. Most said that I look younger in person. I don't know. I don't know how the conversation piece got there so quickly. People are really comfortable telling me what they think, right? The joys of social media, right? But yeah, truly, thank you for posting that today. I think that I've seen them around and about, and then Thermapen saw it and they reposted it. And then a couple of the chefs that I know from there that work with Thermapen, they were kind of like, oh, I like, yours are really, really great. One of them got called the grumpy one. I was like, I don't know where that came from. Chocolate Spicy, hello. Oh, Lorraine, I see. So, Love Burfie, I know. We did make sure. I don't always know the names of the brands. I have this issue with the colours, right? We see all these orders come through, and when you see orders coming through really regularly, and then it's got like a Yahoo address, and I don't even recognise the name, and then you go back to them and say, who are you? And they're like, oh, well, we're this brand. It's like, why don't you use a business email? It'd make life so much easier if I knew who I was sending it to, and so many things. But Lorraine's there. I had a fantastic day with Lorraine yesterday. Really, really good. Really, really amazing day. It was beautiful weather, and the students a few days before that as well. Absolutely lovely down here. Alice is saying, evening everybody, I hope everybody's had a good week. I think everybody's having an amazing week actually, based on some of the posts that I've seen this week. Truly, truly, truly amazing. Somebody's writing in Arabic then, I'm not going to read that. Mrs. So Sassy's going to translate that quickly. Mary's saying, sorry, I ask AI to make you look longer. No, not at all. Absolutely brilliant. Andrew's there, styling chocolates. I think everybody's caught up with the time changes now, isn't it? Last week, everybody joined at like 9:30. It's like, okay, then bye. We made these. I'm going to show you. These are really thin shells as well. Okay. And we made those yesterday because I think Lorraine asked the question, said, how do you get the caramel in the back of it? And I said, well, we'll make some. We'll do some. And I think the day before there's a question about the bars, and it's like, oh, we'll make some because we can do that. We can do that in the classes. We can kind of make whatever we want to. We can make whatever we want to make, right? Fridge makes some clangy noises. So, have I missed any? Hello, Mary. I'm good, thank you. Have I missed any? Have I missed any questions? Here we go. I have a question, please. What changes if we do chocolate design with coloured white chocolate instead of coloured cocoa butter? Nothing really. So you can so we have the pearls that you can colour white chocolate with, but it tends to create quite pastel colours. Okay, so you can paint with coloured white chocolate, no problem whatsoever. Very difficult to be, like, you'd have to hand paint. Excuse me. You can't get that level of design with it. But you can colour white chocolate, and you can paint with white chocolate, and you can certainly do some really lovely designs with that, and lots of people do. The difference with the cocoa butter is it's very fluid, so we can paint, we can get very vivid bright colours, we can back it with white, we can back it with white chocolate, and we can get real standout designs with it. Whereas with white chocolate, and depending on the white chocolate as well, because some are very yellow, some are very white, you can get some oddities with the design. But somebody used, so I got sent one thing, and somebody put they had I'm not going to name the brands, they had a brand of white chocolate, and they put half of one of the blue pearls into it, and it turned green. And the only reason it would turn green is if there was presence of another yellow that was in the chocolate, right? We looked on the packaging and it didn't say that there was any yellow colouring in there, but it's, why would white chocolate turn green if you put blue in it? If you put blue and yellow together, you'll get green, right? So there must have been yellow in the chocolate, but I'm not going to name the brand. But it was a bit of a scratchy head moment. It's like, something doesn't seem right with that. So, and it wasn't a major brand. It was just it was kind of like, I think they need to say something. But it was a very, very yellowy, ivory looking chocolate, right? Can you interchange glucose syrup with golden syrup without affecting shelf life or texture? Obviously will impart flavour, but can't get organic glucose syrup in New Zealand. They are not even close to being the same thing. So glucose syrup, so sucrose, sugar is equal parts of glucose and fructose, and then for liquid glucose, through a point of hydrolysis, they can get the fructose out, and it just leaves you the glucose, which is very, very not sweet whatsoever. If you have golden syrup is a byproduct of sugar production, and it's very, very, very sweet. golden syrup is sweeter than inverted sugar, so it sits at that DE 140, 150, so it's very, very sweet. Golden syrup doesn't have the anti-crystalline properties that glucose would. They're totally different. They're totally different products. Unfortunately, you could use it to help emulsify things, but I certainly wouldn't be using golden syrup. Like, you know, if you leave with the jars of golden syrup, if you leave the lid off for a little bit and it's quite humid, you can literally watch golden syrup form crystals on top. Or if you put it in your cupboard for a little bit longer without the lid on properly, it will literally crystallize around the lid. So it doesn't have any of the properties that glucose would have. Glucose is a very, very different product. Glucose will add. Glucose got a couple of interesting properties, which is why I prefer that over inverted sugar. Both have the ability to bind up water, and both have the ability to stop crystals forming. So is the retardation of crystals, stops crystals forming. I think the interesting thing about glucose is it will add elastin, so it will add some stretch to it. Okay, and it adds like elastic properties to anything you'll make. If you're doing framed ganaches and things, glucose is your best friend, because with elastic, we don't want to stretch. Like when I say elastic, it stretches a long way. Imagine if two molecules were butted up against each other, they will move apart. So actually, when you're spreading things, there's movement, but not as much, because the elastic properties of it make it stretch back. While we're talking about this, let me just answer what is the difference between glucose, so glucose syrup and inverted syrup. Glucose syrup and corn syrup are not the same thing. The water content of them is wildly different. So corn syrup is made a bit like maple syrup. We'll boil it all up and then boil it down until we've got a fructose sugar left over, whereas glucose has got glucose in it and no fructose in it, right? If we drew a line of 100, if we drew a line and we call that 100, that's sugar. So, and sugar is, we have a trade name for it, is sucrose. Sucrose is white sugar, just bulk standard white sugar. That sits on that line of 100. When you have glucose, it could be DE40, DE60. So that's dextrose equivalent. So that's the sweetness equivalent, okay? And that sits below, at 40, sits below the line. So if you were doing something like a passion fruit or white chocolate or milk chocolate that's very, very sweet, we would kind of use glucose because it's got those binding properties to make a ganache, but it's low sweet. Like if you taste some glucose on its own, and you know, D60 is barely sweet. It's just barely sweet, but it's got all those properties of sugar. And then you've got things like sorbitol and some of those polyol sugars sit much lower down on that have all the properties of sugar, all the binding abilities of sugars, zero sweetness. So they sit really, really low down. And on that line of 100, what sits above that is the likes of inverted sugar, trimoline, galactose, all those kind of weirdly named sugars as well. And they are super, 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 super sweet. Okay. If we were doing a white chocolate and passion fruit ganache, if we used inverted sugar in that, we'd just be adding extra sweetness on top of extra sweetness from white chocolate, and it would be sickly sweet. It would be literally like, say, you know, I want to try my diabetes chocolate. So equally, if we were doing a dark chocolate ganache, if I wanted to keep all those characteristics of that cocoa, we might use glucose so that we can keep those full roasted, really strong kind of 80% flavours of that cocoa mass. But if we wanted to just tone that down a little bit, what we could use is inverted sugar that's a little bit sweeter and balance it out. Just tone down that bitterness a little bit with some sugar or with some salt or a mix of both. They're massively misunderstood. Things like sorbitol's a brand, right? It's just a brand of a sugar from a company. But like if you find diabetic sugar, it's exactly the same thing. and they're available in health food shops. And if you grind them down, they're normally quite big crystals, but if you grind them down to a really fine powder, it's going to be exactly the same, almost like for like product, in my opinion. But I hope that answers that. Channel chocolates, almost definitely been mentioned before. Is there a document with a table for quick reference for types and opacity levels for colours of the colours? No, there isn't a table. So the type B's generally all have opacity. If it's got titanium in it, it's going to be kind of 100% opacity. It's hard to do a chart because, and the question I get asked a lot is, and I got one recently, and it's like, can I have a look at the titanium white, and can you show me a picture of it with a milk chocolate, a white chocolate, and a dark chocolate, and maybe what it looks like with a caramelized chocolate? And the answer is no, I can't, because what am I going to do? Am I going to do a shell that's in an 85, a 90, an 85, an 84, an 83, an 82, an 80? I don't just have to make hundreds. I think the quick way is to spray and paint some and have a look. Some of the tertiary colours like lilac, Lysa peach, those have got full opacity, but they will help if you're shelling with a really dark chocolate, really jet dark chocolate. If you've not sprayed a thick enough layer, you're going to see that through. So the other challenge that you have with opacity is how much have you sprayed, how thick is the layer, and how dark is the chocolate, or how light is the chocolate. And even if I did a chart, the variables are massive. Size of the mould, shape of the mould, domes, very easy to get a nice thin layer. Square side edges, very difficult to get those edges. Temperature of the chocolate, how much it melts that cocoa butter leather. Like, there are so many variables. I think to do a chart is impossible, but what we did do is say, well, the type A, when it's type A on its own, it's translucent. If it's type B, then it will have opacity. So it could have type A fat soluble colour, and then it's got type B, which means it's got opacity. And then generally, with the exception of the gold glitter and the silver glitter, all of them will kind of give you 75% opacity. So if you put bronze luster in, or copper luster, or the red chrome, and then shells, you'll get full opacity with the luster dust. And then if you spray, if you spray the fool's gold, if you spray the copper king, if you spray the bronze Adonis, you'll almost get full opacity, apart from when you're in the really dark 70% plus chocolates, right? Generally the type C's, I wouldn't back them, because I think what you get is, as you look over the dome of chocolate, the edge is really dark and it brightens when it gets to the top, and it's a good play. Have a look at some of the pictures I think that are on the I Should Cocoa page, and I think it shows you opacity of some of the luster dust. So, but the opacity levels is so difficult to do. It's so difficult to do. And like I said, I got the one with, can you? I think it was Caramelita. Can you show me a chocolate with Caramelita where it's dark chocolate, milk chocolate, white chocolate, and it's like, yeah, I'll stop what I'm doing and shell some chocolates. It's just, it'll give you 100% opacity. Done. And I have seen a picture or a video, and it's like, here's all the bonbons in the colours, and one shelled with white chocolate, one with milk chocolate, and one with dark chocolate. And then when you zoom in on it, every single picture is exactly the same. And I'm looking at it going, yeah, that looks like Photoshop to me. But you know what, hey ho, each their own. Is it possible to make glucose at home? No, it's not. It's made under pressure. It's made under pressure, and it's significant pressure, really. And then it goes into a vacuum as well. So no, you can make inverted sugar at home, quite really straightforward. Callie Young said it's got a brilliant video on making the inverted sugar. I know that he suggests you can leave it out of the fridge. I don't. I would always keep it in a screw top jar in the fridge, because the challenge is, if light gets to it, if there is a tiniest little speck of a crystal in there, if any light gets in there, it will absolutely just spore into a giant jar of crystals, right? So I'll put it in the fridge and keep it dark, keep it cold, right? Sharing a white chocolate colouring disaster I had this week. Tried PME, what's PME Mellow Yellow? Ended up using the whole lot, 2.5 grams in about 1 kilo of chocolate, and got inedible bitter chocolate. Oh dear me. What's PME? What's PME Mellow Yellow? I don't know what that is. Chocolate Philip, how are you? I am good. There's lots of people joined tonight. Hello. If you got questions, fire them away. Is there any good, free, or at least not too pricey software to calculate shelf life ganaches? There isn't. Tom Sanson, I think, came up with something, and I think he did a post on the forum, because he's been working on this thing for years. Kelly Youngstead's got a very, very good one, which is very reasonably priced. You'd need to know the chocolates, and you need to put all those formulas in. There isn't, I think, and all they are is a suggested AW, right? So, and a suggested AW is, do you know, if it was 0.5, if it was 0.78, for example, we would say from anywhere from 12 to 16 weeks. But is it 12 or is it 16 weeks? Because it's a month's difference, right? I think that I struggle with it. The AW is just one little measurement within this process, right? Because you can have a fantastic AW recipe, but if the shell's not good and it's got holes in it and the cap's not good, your 3-month shelf life ganache might not make it to next week. And you can't say, but the you know, and then food hygiene comes in. How clean were the bowls? How clean were your hands? How clean was the mixer? How squeaky clean was everything? And then on top of that, how was it stored? Where was it stored? And what were the conditions throughout that journey? And what was the quality of those ingredients? Was it old cream? Was it new cream? Was it old sugar? Was it sugar that had some humidity in it? Was it all clumped together? There's so many things that affect these this shelf life. Like, I think if you want great shelf life, go caramel, go Ganduya. If you insist on doing a ganache, even if you think it lasts 6 weeks, I would give it 3, because you don't know how the customer will look after it. Callium said it's got a really good recipe calculator. Tom Sampson, I think, created one. I didn't see what price it was, because he had a little bit of a grumble that there was no reaction to it and nobody bought it. And then he said something like, it's taken me 800 hours to create this project, and it works out about $10 an hour. And I was looking at it going, surely you're not selling that for £8,000. But anyway, cheap isn't good and good ain't cheap. That's the lesson in life, right? It's a good food colouring brand, gosh. We've been, so Pom Coco, we've been on an interesting journey since we started doing this, and we did a lot of research in the beginning, and we did a lot of research and development. I mean, we spent thousands and thousands and thousands on reviewing all the butters, looking at all the colours. For example, E129 is red, okay? They're not all the same. They are massively different in qualities depending on that producer. And when I say they are massively different, it's literally from 0 to 100. It's gigantic. I can buy E129 at the absolute cheapest price, or you can go the other route where it's such a pure format that I don't need as much, which is the route that we went. And then we got to the point where the colour manufacturers were putting bulking agents in. And I see this a lot with the luster dust, because they put rice flour in it. And the problem is, when you put rice flour in it, it then takes away the static properties. So when you damp it into a mould, it doesn't stick because the rice won't let it. And then you shell and you're like, where's the luster dust gone? So I'm not going to suggest that they do that, but I get sent videos very often where somebody's put a fat soluble colour into white chocolate and nothing's happened. And then it's happened in Bahrain recently, right? A couple that own an ice cream shop bought this. The label said fat soluble red. It was 124, so Allure Red 122, E124, and it said on the label fat soluble colour. We put it into the white chocolate and nothing happened, and then we had to put more and more in, and at this point it's like 20%, and it's just too much. It completely changed the taste of that chocolate, and that was a brand that was saying this is a fat soluble colour. My experience tells me that was not. When we dropped that into a pot of cold, because I said, grab me some water. We got a jar of water. We tipped it into the water, and the water all turned red. So the fat soluble colour that was in that jar was actually water soluble colour. And this is the challenge. And I regularly get asked, will I teach how to make the colours? No. Firstly, this is my business, so why would I give away thousands and thousands of pounds worth of research and development, and then also 3 years worth of significant knowledge of making these? So that's one thing. Secondly, you can't buy the colours that I buy, because I get the colours made for me based on the specs that I want now. So we don't buy small amounts. I am really, really picky. I send so many back to say that's not what I asked for. Because when I get the colours and I get the powders, I test them, I check them, and we put them against light refractometers and measure it, and then say that's. So it's a I want to say it's a shady world, the colour thing. I've seen water soluble colours that aren't water soluble. I've seen fat soluble colours that aren't fat soluble, because it's just been thrown in a tub, a label stuck on it, and sold. And you can't go back and say it didn't work, because they've got your money. Very, very sad world when that. And I see lots of it. I see it with the luster dust. I see it with the fat soluble colours. I see it with the watercolours. Yeah, it's a real shame. That's not the business I'm in. I get to talk to the people that use it, so I wouldn't get very far if I started to do shady things. And both me and Rania, we are very, very picky in terms of what it is that we use and why, and the purity of it all, right? Isle Bakes, following your fantastic advice and Ruth's recipe, I did my first big wedding fair last weekend. It actually felt so proud of what I'd made. It was wonderful seeing people's faces when they tried. Down the rabbit hole, Isle Bakes. Now you just need to gear up for the next one. I think every time you do markets and you do fairs, or you do some of these kind of in-person selling, you should learn some lessons and get some ideas of what you would do next time, and you will learn what sells, what doesn't sell, and what would I take and how would I do it, and it just makes that whole experience. And I think the other thing with markets is you get to learn who's buying and who's looking. And I think, Rania is very, very good at that. She can spot through the crowd, like, let that person in because they're ready to buy, because this person just wants to chat about their diets and how they can't eat chocolate, and somewhere they had chocolate 50 years ago and it was amazing, and do we do it, right? So, is it wrong to sell eggs in two halves? I mean, without connecting the two halves, you can do what you want. Those get sold as halves, or I can glue them together. It's up to you what you want to do. I've seen halves. I've seen people do the egg halves. They fill it with rolled truffles, fill the egg, and then just put, you do some acetate and tempered chocolate over it, get it to the point where it's just starting to dry, lay that on top, give it a scrape, so it kind of puts a fake sealing over the egg, and they sell them in those halves. You do what you want. There's no bonbon police at all. Nothing wrong with that whatsoever. Yeah, Pom Cocoa. We started making these because we had a colour that was a blue from a brand, and it smelt of diesel. It smelt of petrol, and it's just like, no, I can't do this. So, down the rabbit hole we went 4 years ago, starting the colours and making those, and have learned a huge amount. And if I'm honest, we've acknowledged some of the shady practices in industry that do go on in terms of, we'll put the minimum colour in, and we'll buy the cheapest colour, and we'll buy the cheapest butter, and we'll mix that, we'll put it in a bottle, and we'll ship it out, make money. what people then discover is it doesn't really work, so they end up looking for a more refined product, and I'm hoping that's at the point that we join the conversation, right? So yeah, I think what's more alarming is when it's not a cheap colour powder you buy and it still doesn't work, right? And as I said, I did some experiments with some people in Bahrain where the label clearly said fat soluble, liposoluble colour, and when we put it in water it coloured it, and it clearly wasn't. So I've seen someone putting 4 dots of melted chocolate on the edges to help getting the halves open. Yeah, you can if you want to close the back of eggs, it's up to you. I mean, I've seen, we always get to this Easter time of year and we it's like, how do I join those together seamlessly, okay, without being able to see it? They're very often spinning moulds, so they're moulds and they're really well made, they're huge. They'll put the chocolate into one half of it, bolt the other thing on, it goes onto a spinning machine, and when they come out you can't see that seam and it's hollow. The ones that have got any inclusions on the inside, you'll always be able to see that rim. If you think back to pictures of Easter eggs, they were put together like that, and there was a ribbon, right? And the ribbon there was just camouflage and concealment, hiding the joint, right? Vicky's saying, is a Thermapen Classic okay, or is it better to get the more expensive Thermapen? Thermapen 1 is the one that I recommend because it's just the speed of reading. The Classic is just as good. They are both very, very accurate. The Thermapen 1 just reads much, much faster because it goes up in increments of half second, whereas I think the Classic is 2 second reading. Both are very good. Both are made exactly the same way. The only difference is the Thermapen 1. The Thermapen 1, the Classic, I can read it that way, yeah, and when we go like that it tilts, and then when I go over it'll go like that, whereas the Classic doesn't, so it only reads in that format, right? So but both have the same reading capacity, whether you're doing it, it'll take a reading on the palm of your hand, or it'll take a reading there. Okay, so both exactly the same quality, just one reads faster than the other. And I think the lighting just you've got 360 degree backlit so that you can use it, because we all use it. Well, we always use it left-handed while we're stirring, right? Whereas I think with the Classic, you're not. The number's gonna be upside down. That's the only difference. But I like Thermapen 1. I think we're working in a world where accuracy is everything. And I just think it's worth those extra few bucks, right? And it, you know. And if you have a problem with your Thermapen, they won't mind me saying this here. If you have a problem with it, contact their sales. Arrange to send it back, and they will go off and analyse that one, and it's more than likely that they'll send you a brand new one, because what they're interested in, and I watched this last Friday, I watched this live happening, the ones that come back, they're all over it trying to understand why, what and what went wrong, and they literally pull it all apart, so they don't get, you know, if you've got one that's not working or not broken or not calibrating, they're not like, oh, it doesn't work, you know, we'll try and fix it. They don't want to fix it. They want to analyse why and what, because that's what they're passionate about, is making incredible instruments. Their interest is about creating and making an incredible product. On the back end of that, they get sales because of that accuracy and all that stuff. So if you do have a problem with your Thermapen, it's not calibrating or whatever, I think they said 1 in 10,000 sometimes has a fault, which in manufacturing, that's an incredible hit, right? But they'll pull it all apart. It's likely they'll send you a new one back in a case and all the rest of it, choose your colour, right? Because they just want you to have a great thermometer. They want to know why it didn't work, because that's valuable to them, right? So you get what you pay for, right? You absolutely get what you pay for. A market of mine for Sunday has been cancelled today, but by Chocolate's Done. Bought a freezer, but not sure they'll last over summer. Would you do a sale? Tough decision. Grange chocolates. I would do a sale. I know I freeze some. I think you know, you can freeze them. You get them in trays, put some silica gel packs, make sure they are airtight. I'd do both. I would do a sale, I would do a sale, maybe put some in boxes and freeze them as boxes so that you can just take them out and send them. I'd do both. Why not? Nothing wrong with a flash sale. And we're coming up to Easter, so big opportunity. Big opportunity. You don't have to sell things half. You don't have to sell things 50% off. We're near to Easter. I'd go for it. I'd do a bit of both. Whatever you don't get rid of for Easter, you can repackage it, rename it, and continue pushing those sales. Right? Chocolate sales. Find your audience. Hashtags Grange Chocolates. You've got to continually post what it is that you've got for sale. And if you're posting to stories, it's gone after 24 hours. Nobody will ever see it again. And stories generally reach about 10% of your audience. So if you've got 100 followers, 10 people are going to see it. So you've got to keep posting. Use hashtags. You've got to go and find your audience. But I wouldn't do a sale or freeze. I'd do both. Just good lesson there. There's a good lesson. Things cancel. This is the lesson to make you say, right, I'm going to go and find my new audience. And you might pick up 50, 60 customers that you never knew about, right? That's how you win. That's how you win, right? I think they call it every silver lining, right? I think the mindset is the mindset should be the market's cancelled. What's my plan? What's the lesson? What am I learning from this? I need to find another market. Because that market was a physical one that you went to. Now you need to find another market, an online one, right? Find your way. Find your way. You can do it without a doubt. Pink Thermapen one ordered. I got new coloured ones this week. It's 1 second reading. It's 1 second reading, and it's got this intelligent black backlight, and I quite like that because there's a little hole here, and when you initially put it on and it goes on, but if you keep your finger over that, the light stays on, and I kind of quite like that because I know what it is. Chocolatiers I always seem to be working in doom and gloom, like a gloomy light. I don't know. Pink Thermapen one orders. Would I freeze in the packaging? Yeah, I don't see why not. Backpack it, protect it from the air. Yeah, without a doubt. When it comes out, put it into the fridge. When it comes out, put it into the fridge. Let it, it comes from the freezer to the fridge for 24 hours, and then from the fridge after 24 hours up to room temperature. Don't touch it until it's all come back to room temperature, and they'll be beautiful, shiny. They'll be absolutely stunningly beautiful. Really, truly, truly. What we've got, it is 9:30. I think I've got every single question tonight. I think I've got every question tonight. At the point where I say, right, I'm going to go, I then get flooded with a load of questions, don't I? Not complaining. That's what we're here for, it's Chocy Chat. I think we're fully topped up. I've got some more colours to go back on. It's been some crazy sales this week. Huge volumes going out. I think that is Easter. We're going to take a break soon, so I'll tell you what the time frames of those are once we've kind of decided specifically, because I think once Easter's done, we'll take a little bit of a break. Whilst we have been, we went to Rome for a little while, but it was kind of tiring, exhausting, and a lot of miles. But yeah, I think we're going to take a break after Easter. I'm just not sure of the dates yet, but get your orders in. If you've got questions, fire them over. If I don't get back to you, it's just because we get inundated with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of emails and messages, and then when I'm doing classes, it's really difficult to keep up with all of it. So quick question here, should I vacuum pack bonbons before freezing them? You don't have to, but it helps, and it helps to take any moisture that could be in that tray before you freeze it, because freezers are really high humidity. Freezers generally are 99% humidity because it's got ice in there. So vacuum packing them, it does help. Not absolutely necessary, but it really does help with the shelf life a bit. And when you take them out of the freezer, don't undo the vacuum seal, put it into the fridge, and after 24 hours, then you can cut them open, right? That's the last question. I'm going to get going. I told you, there's all these questions piling right in there. Thank you, Chocy Chat. Get your orders in. Have a lovely week. Easter's nearly there. Get your sales in. Go and find your customers. That's the job. 50% of your time is making chocolate. The other 50% is running your business and finding your people. The aim of the business is to generate income. Your job is to make it profitable. They are different things, right? The business and you, they're different things. You're in charge of all of it. Go and find your customers. Go and have fun. Go and be creative. Share stories. People want to see you making things and they want to connect. And if they don't connect, they don't buy. Simple as that, right? Have a good week. I'm going to go and eat some chocolate from Emily Rose and her sister Ariana in Puerto Rico. There's the flag for the day. I'm going to leave that there in the hope that I can use that as a screensaver. Have an amazing week. One of my best friends just joined there as well, Melissa. Hi, Melissa.